Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Beleshanai from MICO India, Journal of Indian Fungi. Um, Today we have with us Dr. Raviraja N. Sithara, who is going to talk about how to do scientific research. Welcome to the this platform, Dr. Raviraja, sir.
Thank you.
Let me just take 5 minutes before I hand over the platform to Dr. Raviraja. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, this is the first program under the series MICO India Leaders Talk. Uh, the origin of the genesis of this program, today's program, is interesting. I might have written it on in one of our WhatsApp groups that I was having a discussion with Professor Raviraja, and he, of course, he was quite enthusiastic, quite supportive of MICO India and MICO Asia's these online talks. He had a suggestion for me that these young people should be taught how to do a good research or good scientific research, and I took his suggestion very seriously. And I was thinking who to invite for this talk. Then I remembered my senior from the Department of Biosciences, Mangalore University. I remembered him because when I was applying for my PhD, he was the one who helped me with the research proposal. I did not have great experience writing a research proposal. It was Dr. Raviraja who helped me actually draft the, a reasonably decent research proposal that could fetch me PhD in mycology at the University of Hong Kong. So with that background, I made a call to him, and he was kind enough to accept the invitation. And today here he is getting ready for the presentation how to do scientific research. Dr. Raviraja, as his profile says, he's into biotherapeutics, but he started his PhD in mycology. I think it's on endophytes. He did his PhD with the Professor Kandikere Sridhar Ramaya, who is the editor-in-chief of MICO India, Journal of Indian Fungi. And later on, Dr. Raviraja, after his PhD, he spent some time in, I think, Department of Bioscience in Mangalore University. Then he moved to New York, Albert Einstein College of Medicine. I used to interact with him, communicate with him during that time. Then recently, I guess, he joined Manipal Group. Let me read out from the this introduction that I prepared. Dr. N.S. Raviraja is a PhD, as I told you. He did his PhD from Mangalore University. Then he has also got MBA. He's a actually distinguished figure in the field of biotherapeutic research, currently serving as the Chief Operating Officer Designate, Director of Planning and Monitoring at the Manipal Academy of Higher Education, in short known as MAHE, and as Professor and Coordinator at the Manipal Centre for Biotherapeutics Research, MAHE Manipal. With a prolific career spanning over decades, he has contributed significantly to stem cell technology, cancer research, and nanobiotechnology. His leadership at MAHE involves strategic planning and administrative oversight to align with the institution's vision and goals. Dr. Raviraja's works primarily focus on innovative research in biotherapeutics, covering a wide range of biological products with therapeutic potential, including cell, gene, protein nanotechnology, regenerative medicine, and biomaterials, hopefully including mycomaterials. His expertise is further highlighted by his role in fostering corporate relations and attracting funding to enhance research and community outreach programs, demonstrating a commitment to advancing the field of biotherapeutics research. So, Dr. Raviraja, I believe that once a mycologist is always a mycologist. With that statement, I hand over this platform to you. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Damodar. It's really nice to come back to this forum and share my experiences. And what I wish to accomplish at the end of this talk is to enthuse some of the budding researchers to get into scientific research and to understand how to do it very seriously, still with an angle of fun. It should not be kind of punishment getting into research, so that they can stay in this particular field for a very long time. So what I have gained in my early years in Mangalore University under the mentorship and guideship of renowned Dr. K.R. Sridhar which has a profound influence in my shaping my career later on. And even today, I am in touch with him and take guidance from him from time to time. So that, wishing him at the beginning of this talk, I would like to continue. And I also want to acknowledge the presence of Dr. DJ Bhatt here, whom I have been interacting since my MSc and PhD days, whom I consider one of the great figures in Indian mycology. With this note, let me just open my PPT. Are the slides clear?
Just coming, sir. Okay, fine. Perfect. Yeah. Perfect.
Good. So I was asking Dr. Damodar why this topic, because if you give a specific topic, how to develop a stem cell product or how to do ecological research in mycology, things would be much easier to put a few slides together and talk. But when you give a fundamental topic, how to do scientific research, there is no boundary for this. You can pick slides from wherever, and you have to actually shape it into something that is going to be interesting for the young researchers. So I would like to beg the pardon of seasoned and those who are professors and who have much more experience than me in this field. And mostly this talk will focus on more young researchers who still want to do how to conduct a very good scientific research, how to stay engaged, and how to stay interested, and how to design a very good problem. So this talk will cover the following contents: introduction, research approach, research question, success factors, designing and executing experiments, hypothesis generation, translational research, publication types, and conclusions. It will not dwell into in-depth mycology research or cancer research or stem cell research or biotherapeutic research. It will kind of touch upon most of these areas to see how we can generate interest in multiple areas of research. It doesn't mean that once somebody starts a research area, he need to stick to that particular area lifelong. Sometimes, there will be course corrections and some other topics of interest that may come in the life. So one should be open to embark into different types of research if there is an opportunity and interest. So, welcome to the journey of scientific research. This presentation will navigate you in crafting important research questions and igniting your passion for research. Let's embark on this exciting adventure of scientific research together. You may stop me anytime during this presentation, or if you can put your questions, we can even address it later on after the formal session of giving talk is over, maybe about an hour or 1 hour 15 minutes. After that, there should be sufficient time for discussion. But I would definitely like to be interrupted in between if there is a question. So what is search and research? Because I want to start with fundamental. Many times, people ask these questions: what is research and what is search? So I think the simplest distinction between search and research is search is looking for something and research is looking into something. So there has to be an eye for observation and detail orientedness and getting into the depth of what we want to do. When these things come together, you can look into something, and that really becomes the research. If you just look without much interest or without in-depth observations, it is just looking for something. So for example, if you have an iPhone on, if you want to see your phone, you will be looking for your phone where it is. But that is, looking for, or it is searching for phone. But if you're researching phone, you look into what tabs it has, what other tabs I can have, what other applications will be useful, and how entire phone can be manufactured. It's all into the research of that particular subject. So then what should be research approach? The scientific research is the process of systematically exploring and investigating a natural phenomena. It involves developing relevant hypotheses and conducting experiments to test them, leading to new discoveries and knowledge. How to generate a research question? Because it's very, very crucial to come up with a good research question. Crafting clear and focused research questions is crucial for guiding the research process. Many times, the students and young researchers will come up with many questions, And most of the times, they themselves are not interested in that question in a few weeks or few months' time. So that will not really lead into something. The question should be sustained, and it should lead to amazing the experimental evidence for this question for several months. It's not just the thought comes like a wind and goes away in a minute. It's all just brainstorming that cannot form a clear research question. That needs actually brainstorming, deliberation, sitting with your supervisor or mentor and getting his mind share to see that whether this can be a kind of a valid and clear research question. If you start with the wrong research question, probably that is not going to lead to any substantial research. So this is the phase where you have to spend a lot of time. Some of you might have heard the PDCA cycle, that is plan, do, check, and act. Usually it's a management jargon where people who spend a lot of time in planning phase, they will not have to spend much time in doing, executing, redoing all those things. That means you will come up with less error and you don't have to repeat it with so many permutations and combinations if you really plan it in a very good way. So crafting a clear and focused research question is a very, very crucial part. Even if you take more time on this, it is going to save a lot of time in the future when you embark doing the experiments and then interpreting the results. Well-defined questions provide a direction for investigation and help in generating meaningful outcomes. So if you develop a question where nobody is interested in the outcome, probably you yourself will be interested in doing the research. Nobody will be tuned to see what will come out of it. For example, if you do a kind of India-wide survey on endangered the microbes, especially endangered the fungi, for example, there are so many people who will be interested to see what will come out of this research. But if you know, I'm going to embark all India tour, and wherever possible, I'll collect some samples and do a survey of the fungi present in those samples. Probably it is something that without any purpose, what you really want to do. It's like you're taking a tour or pilgrimage, and wherever possible, you'll collect some samples, but it will not really give in-depth length and the breadth of India or geographical locations and what your focus is. So I think it is very, very important to define what you want to do and then form that particular question. So compelling research questions are relevant, specific, and impactful. They should address gaps in knowledge. There is no point in doing the same thing again. Somebody has done a survey in the Western Ghats, in the streams and in the rivers, all the foam samples, litter samples, what are the fungi present. Someone else might have done just to reconfirm what it is. But if several people keep on doing the same thing and start reporting the same results, so whether it will further our knowledge in this area, definitely no. So you have to look into an area where less work has been done or there is a knowledge gap and try to get that information. Very important. And offer potential solutions for the problems that we don't have an answer today and spark curiosity within the scientific community, which is very crucial in addressing or in coming up with the research questions. So who can become researcher or innovator? One should definitely have intellectual curiosity. Usually when we are children, we come up with a lot of questions, so much so that sometimes our parents and friends tell us that, can you please keep quiet? How many questions you ask? But this is a deterrent in scientific research. Even happens when even in the BSc and master's degree, when students keep on asking questions to the faculty, sometimes they turn down the students. Don't ask questions. If you ask questions, I cannot cover the syllabus. It may be true to some extent, but if those questions cannot be addressed in the classroom, the faculty should actually attract them outside of the class and address those questions. When I used to be in my, the master's degree, I used to have a lot of questions, and my teachers to tell me that, let us not spend a lot of time in the classroom. Why don't you come to the, faculty room and we can discuss? I think such kind of encouragement has to be given, and one should not put off the intellectual curiosity questions. And this question should be generated like a kind of machine. It should keep on coming. Many new questions should keep on coming, and we should validate that whether it is true or not. If we kind of put a lid there, then I think there is a limited scope in coming up with real, original, substantial questions. I was just wanted to give an example of Mr. Bhavish Agarwal, who has co-founded Ola Cabs. So he had a lavish job in the United States, and he came back to India, and he wanted to take a road trip from Bangalore to Bandipur. And on the way, the cab driver was not good, and he started fighting with Bhavish Agarwal and his family. And what others would have been a rewarding road trip to Bandipur turned out into a kind of a very bad experience. So then Mr. Bhavish Agarwal thought, okay, like me, there could be several other people having this kind of nightmarish vacations, and I should come up with something that can provide solution to so many people having similar issues. So that was the genesis, or the kind of the imagination of a cab system that can cater to a lot of people, almost same comfort as if they're owning it and at a lesser cost. So then he co-founded the Ola Cabs, and you know that it is kind of very local cab network that most of you might have already enjoyed it. So that kind of coming up with intellectual curiosity, how I can solve this problem that I am encountering today. Even in mycology, there are many unsolved questions, and you should think that what are those gaps and where I can contribute, and let me frame that question. And I'm not the expert in framing that question, but let me at least frame it, kind of draft question, and then consult my seniors, my teachers, my mentors, and then further refine it and make it a profound question that can be then executed for a few years, so that it can kind of become a the doctoral thesis or postdoctoral thesis, all those things. And then intrinsic motivation. So here in Manipal University, or MAHE, I have been seeing so many researchers who are, maybe PhD scholars or young faculty, who always look at some kind of external incentive, what we can get. For example, if we work more, if we publish more per publication, we can get some incentive. Faculty, again, looking at cash incentives and conference traveling, all those things. Even if there are incentives, always looking for more incentives. That is, if I do more, whether I can get better remunerations or incentives. So there is a limit for all these things. I think science cannot be pursued with external incentives. It should be the internal motivation or intrinsic motivation that should drive us. So for example, for 10 years, I was working for Manipal Corporate, and there was no need to do any research or publish any papers. But I kept on, doing research and publishing papers. It is not because of any external pressure or requirement. It is just because of intrinsic motivation. This is what I want to. It is not just to boast myself, Atma Prashamsa Marana Sadrasham. I really don't want to tell that I'm doing great things here. This is just to kind of motivate the younger generation that really don't look for external incentives or appreciations, all those things. See whether you can satisfy your own intellectual curiosity by embarking into this kind of research. So just to tell you something, that external incentives can definitely kill your intrinsic motivation. Once you are tuned to the external incentives, then your intrinsic curiosity or intrinsic motivation can be completely killed. Then you will only do the research or research work only when there is an external motivation or incentives. Just to tell you a small story, I'm really glad that I have been given with more than an hour time. So I just want to, just inspire you with something that we should really not look for extrinsic motivations or incentives. Once there was an old man living in a gated compound, and there used to be a bunch of children passing by his house. And every evening they used to come to his house and tease him. Old man, why you are still living? What is the use? And nobody has any use by the way you live here, and you are of no use to anyone else. And probably the time has come, you should say goodbye and leave this world, blah, blah, everything. This old man used to really feel very, very bad. Why these children are coming here and every day they are teasing me and making me depressed? So, but he couldn't find a solution what to do. And he went to one of his friends whom he considered as a mentor, and he asked him, this is the torture that I'm undergoing every evening. So what should I do to come out of it? Mentor told him that the next day when they come and tease you, you give them all 100 rupee currency notes. This old man asked the mentor, are you sure? They are teasing me, and they are sarcastically passing a lot of comments. On top of that, you're asking me to give them money? Then the mentor told, yes. So you are considering me as a mentor. You just follow my advice and give them all 100 rupee notes. So the next day, these children came and teased him, and he gave them all 100 rupee notes. And the children were very happy, and they thought this man is really now getting old and getting crazy. That's why, on top of getting teased, he's giving us money. They were very happy, and they went and went for shopping, and had a lot of cookies, candies, everything, and enjoyed. And came 10-15 minutes early the next evening, because they know one is they can tease him, another one is they may get money. So when they came the next evening, the old man called his mentor and asked what to do. They are again back. I thought they are not going to come. The mentor told, give them all 50 rupee notes today, half of what you gave yesterday. The old man agreed and gave them all 50 rupees. They teased him thoroughly, took 50 rupees, enjoyed and went, and came 10-15 minutes early the next day. The call went. Like that, 2-3 days passed by. He used to give some money specified by his mentor. On the fifth or sixth day, when they came back, he called the mentor what to do. The mentor told, give them all 1 rupee coin. And the old man gave all these children 1 rupee coin. And they all whispered to each other and threw the 1 rupee coin onto the old man and told him, for 1 rupee, we will not come here and tease you. For all these days, they were coming and teasing him for no money. It was their intrinsic motivation. And for last 5-6 days, he incentivized them and reduced the incentives and gave 1 rupee. And their intrinsic motivation was completely killed by the external incentives that he offered, and they stopped coming. This is a story for those researchers who will work only because of external incentives. You will never become a real researcher only when you develop intrinsic motivation. Never be really overly enthusiastic or expecting something from outside. When it really constantly comes from intrinsic motivation, nobody can really come in the way of you becoming a successful researcher in the future. Commitment and perseverance. It is not one day's job or 1 week's job. It is probably a lifetime job. So I don't think there is a retirement for a researcher. There could be a retirement from active job, but he is researcher as long as he lives. That is the kind of the mindset of thinking that researcher develops. Just to enumerate a little more, so there used to be a great investment guru who used to go to different parts of the world and used to give talks on how to become an investment guru. At the end of the talk, there used to be a few young students who used to come to him and ask him, can you teach how to become an investment guru like you? And this man used to always tell, yes, I can teach you, but there is a condition. On this particular day, you have to come to this particular beach at 4 a.m. in the morning. Then I can start talking to you on how to become an investment guru. And this investment guru used to go to those beaches on those specified days to see whether any student has come there. And for years, nobody had come. That means if something is available very easily, and if they don't have to really struggle for that, let us have that knowledge. But if you have to really put in some effort, then it's not really worth it taking that kind of trouble, that kind of mindset. But after a few years, when he went to a particular beach, he specified at that 4 a.m. in the morning, which was a kind of winter season, very chilly water. One boy was there, and he was surprised. He asked the boy, what do you want to become? The boy told, I want to become an investment guru like you. And he started walking along with the boy and walking, all along the beach. And every step, the investment guru used to ask him the same question, what do you want to become? And the student used to say, I want to become an investment guru. So then rather than parallel to the beach, parallel to the water, the investment guru started walking perpendicular into the water. And again, for every step, he used to ask the same question to the student, what do you want to become? Student used to say that I want to become an investment guru. The water came till chest, till neck, and almost till nose. And the question remained the same and answer remained the same. And when water came almost near the nose, the investment guru pushed the head of the student into the water. Within a few seconds, with all the force, the student jumped out of the water. And at that particular time, investment guru asked him, "What do you want to become?" And the student's answer changed for the first time, and he told, "I want to breathe." Then the investment guru told him, "Your passion for becoming investment guru becomes as deep as your passion to breathe now, because nothing else comes into your mind now, only breathing." Like that, this quest of becoming investment guru becomes as strong as your current quest for breathing. You will become successful. The saga of this guru and the student started on that day, and the student also became one of the very renowned investment gurus. And it's a real story. Sometimes, probably, if somebody is interested, they can reach out to me. I can tell who these people are. And there are a few success factors that researchers need to constantly keep along with them. These are companions for them lifelong, as long as they are remaining as researchers. One is the curiosity. I've already touched upon it. Curiosity fuels the pursuit of knowledge. Embrace your curiosity by asking thought-provoking questions, seeking answers through research, maintaining an open-minded approach to new ideas. Don't be tied to one idea. This is the problem, that once we think that something will work, we will only think about that. Yes, this must work. Let us only work around this particular solution or this particular idea, and we lock ourselves from thinking in other angles. So the example for this is when a baby elephant is tied to a small, using a small narrow rope to a pole when it was young, it will try its best to escape or cut that rope. But for a baby elephant, that rope is enough that it will not be able to cut that rope. But then the baby elephant will become adult, and the caretaker will tie it down with the same rope. Just with a single shake, it can definitely cut that and escape. But the elephant will never try to do it, because it knows it has tried it several hundred times when it was a baby, and it is not possible to cut it, so it will be bound to its own thought. So I think we have to come out of our shell and discuss openly the research problems that we have. The conferences, symposia, workshops are meant to be for that. I have seen many researchers who are not openly discussing their problems, thinking that other people will steal their problem. It is so insecure that I'm sure that more deliberations, more discussions, more collaboration will only lead to the greater heights of research. It will never harm the progress of the research. Once the baby honeybee comes to the mother honeybee and asks the mother honeybee, "These human beings come and steal the honey, what should we do?" Then the mother honeybee told, "Don't worry, they can only steal the honey. They can never learn the process of making honey. That is the innovative process that they can never copy from us. As long as our innovative thinking is protected, we are protected." For researchers, it is not your idea being stolen by someone else. Your thinking process, your innovative ideas, that process is stolen, then you are stolen. But that process can never be stolen. Your thought process, your innovative thinking, your new ideas, generation, that art is yours. Nobody can steal that one. You can only, sharpen it by discussing with your mentors, teachers, colleagues in various forums. So please, keep your intellectual curiosity open and brainstorming open. Nobody can steal anything from you, as long as you can keep on inventing and coming up with new ideas and new the innovative thinking. Passion for research. I've seen many people quitting research in the middle of their PhD, or altogether leaving a teaching and research job and going to an administrative job in a completely different organizations like RTO, in the road transportation company, something that is nothing to do with their college education or PhD. So I keep reflecting sometimes. So what is happening here? So much of money being spent by their parents, university, government, everything, and they have become, the scientists and researchers, and they're quitting it and getting into something totally irrelevant, for where normal degree would be enough. The PhD, research publication, nothing is needed there. So those are all the tragedies. I think those who are really interested, having passion for research, should get into research and stay there. stay there not only for their own intellectual curiosity, but also to further develop this field and make it much better for the researchers who will be coming later on. Passion is the driving force behind impactful research. Cultivate your passion by exploring diverse topics, collaborating with peers, and staying updated with the latest advancements in your field. That is skill development. You should never stop learning. The moment you stop learning, I think the entire thing collapses there. So we should never stop learning, and always go for the skill development, upskilling, and workshops. So just to tell a small story about this, there used to be a college-aged boy who used to go for fishing into a pond, and he used to get good catch. Once what happened is an elderly man went for fishing, and he was sitting there since morning till evening. He was not able to get even a single fish. This college-aged boy comes in the evening with a boom box, with music and with headphones, everything. Every other minute, he used to just catch one fish and pull it. This old man, the elderly man, was really sad, and he asked this boy, "What is the skill here? What is your talent?" So, but this boy had earphones and all those things. He was not able to hear. Then, literally, this elderly man came and shook him and asked him, "What is the trick here?" Then this college-aged boy told him that, "Did you warm your worms?" That was the question. So if your worms are stale, then fishes will never be attracted. Did you warm your worms? The elderly man told, "No. Please do that first. That is the skill that I have. The worms I put into my fishing this rod are the ones they are warm and they smell so that these fishes are being attracted." There are skills that can be learned only from gurus and teachers and mentors, and we should never think that we have learned everything. There is always a need for skill development and learning. It is a never-ending process. Please embark in this skill development and do it with single-minded passion and dedication to research. Just to enthuse again young researchers, sorry, the seasoned professors here. This is the progress report of Sir John Gurdon, who won the Nobel Prize in the year 2012. So this boy was going to the school and always used to ask some crazy questions, and he wanted to become a scientist and all those things. And all his teachers used to tell him that, "John, I think this is not a good idea of you becoming a scientist. We don't see any qualities of scientist in you." And this report says that he has scored like 2 marks out of the possible 50 marks in his the science paper. And this report was sent to his parents also, and they seriously advised him, "You should change your track of study from science to arts or something like that." So the reason I'm telling you this is, you may not be a good researcher or scientist now. You may be only having the idea of becoming a scientist. Nobody can tell you or decide that you cannot become a researcher or scientist. If you have that, you can definitely nurture it from any day you seriously decide to nurture. Your past cannot decide your future. So those who really want to deep dive into research, I think the time is set and you can definitely achieve it and show it. The other researcher, along with this John Gurdon, who won the Nobel Prize in the same year, they actually co-shared or shared the Nobel Prize in the year 2012 for the iPSC and other the cloning and all those things. Other scientist was Shinya Yamanaka from Japan. I'm giving his example just to tell you that Shinya Yamanaka used to be a judo player when he was a student, and he used to go to the orthopedic surgeons whenever he breaks his bone, and the orthopedic surgeon passionately they used to do the surgery, and Shinya Yamanaka used to look at them, and then he decided that when I grow up, I should become an orthopedic surgeon. So he studied very hard, and finally he became an orthopedic surgeon, and he joined the residency in orthopedic surgery at National Osaka Hospital in Japan. For the next entire year, all the surgeries that he has done, after the surgery, he used to call his seniors and ask, "Did I do everything right?" The answer used to be, "Shinya, you would have done slightly like this would have been better for the patient outcome for his lifelong, becoming highly productive. So after several surgeries and every time hearing such remarks, Shine Manaka was fed up that, this is not for me. Being an orthopedic surgeon, although it was my dream for several years, I'm not good at it, in spite of trying very hard. So he decided that this is not me, being an orthopedic surgeon for lifelong, and I'm a researcher. Let me quit being a orthopedic surgeon and let me become a researcher. That is what is my internal passion. And he left his practice, went to the US, to the Gladstone Institute in California, and started researching. There were several surprises. He was working on the uh, male mice. And one day when he was here having breakfast, a technician came and told Shinya Manaka, all your mice are pregnant. Shinya Manaka told, it's not possible. All the mice that I'm working are male mice, so it's not possible for them to get pregnant. Then he rushed to the animal house just to see that the tumor formation. He had a different hypothesis, but what turned out was completely different, which was kind of eye opener for him. And then, so many setbacks, not having enough availability of stem cells. And then he thought from the somatic cells he can generate stem cells. That led to the discovery of iPSCs, induced pluripotent stem cells, for which he finally got the Nobel Prize. The reason I'm telling you this, young researchers, the reason I'm telling you this is that you have to really see where your real passion is. And he finally found his real passion is in research. He quit becoming the orthopedic surgeon. And today he's a world acclaimed researcher in the field of induced pluripotent stem cells. And he's a leading researcher in Japan. He has labs in Japan and US both. So this is the story of two Nobel laureates who are really interested in the scientific research. And other success factors, ethical consideration. In a hurry to make names, many people get into the wrong tracks. So integrity is very crucial for a scientist. Once lost, it is lost for life. I have seen in my life many researchers, many seasoned researchers, senior researchers getting or attracting the name in the in the wrong reasons of getting into the plagiarism. The figures they produce in a publication are already being published by someone else, or the Western blots or some of those things are already published somewhere else. So when you check a 3-word, the copyright check, plagiarism check by using the software, nowadays it's very easy to see whether copyrights are happening or not. They get unnecessarily caught. And many times what happens is senior researchers, they're so busy that they will not have enough time to look into each and everything that students will bring to them. They think that my student will not do these things, and they will simply glance through it and say that yes, I think we can submit it to a journal. But one has to take extreme care in going through the plagiarism check and see whether there is anything unethical, whether if it is a regulated research, all the ethics committee and other relevant committees approvals are there, so that tomorrow it will not become a ethical issue and drag them down. Because lifelong work for 20-30 years, somebody can be pulled down overnight by getting into such things. So be extremely careful to see what are the law of the land in doing such kind of research. Effective communication of finding. This is the problem, because many a times good scientists are not good communicators. Putting across science is an art. So many a times I've seen very good researchers, very good scientists are not very good communicators. Many scientists in the companies, when they are in the R&D wing, their research will be given to the MBAs or the people who are having master's degree in business administration to go and present it to a business forum. Who are the best people to present it? The scientists, because they are the people who have generated this data and they know it to the core. But unfortunately, they don't know how to communicate it to their business world or how to raise money in the data that you have. You know that nowadays the data is the power. So the data is becoming the new power, not only for researchers, but for the entire country. Countries are posing the data that they have generated as one of their intrinsic powers nowadays. So it is very important for scientists to know how to communicate their findings very clearly, and then whatever that is needed, the grant funding or the industry collaborations or anything can be done only when you communicate the findings very, very clearly. So utilize clear and engaging methods such as presentations, publications, visual aids to convey your discoveries. It is so much so true for the scientists who are engaged in teaching the new pedagogical methods and how do you make classroom settings, semicircles, seating arrangements, and how do you really finally communicate to your students is very, very crucial. So communication at the scientific, the symposia conferences, and also at the classroom and lab setting is something very, very important to take everybody into confidence and communicate clearly what we want to communicate. Research culture, which is not going to be developed overnight, this is something that takes a lot of time. So creating an environment that fosters curiosity and inquiry is essential for advancing research. When I was doing research in Dr. K.R. Sridhar's lab, we used to have small group settings in the laboratory, in the canteen, and we used to celebrate success of publishing a paper, getting a very good result. That kind of environment really fosters that we are heard and we are a part of this success celebration. That is a very inclusive environment. I think every seasoned researcher, I'm sure that there are many who are doing the same thing. I'm just telling it to the young researchers that when you get into such environment, it will lead to a wholesome development of whatever you want to communicate. You can openly communicate, deliberate, discuss, and come up with new ideas, and then you can pursue them. I think that is very much important to develop that kind of research culture in a lab or in an institution. Those who are very senior people can really handhold the younger researchers or the mid-career researchers into developing good research culture in their laboratories. As long as you work hard, nobody can shake you. This is the statement told by my research guide, Dr. K.R. Sridhar, once I joined his lab. This is the statement that every now and then I keep on remembering. Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. Nididhyasana is a meditation of the same sentence. This comes to my mind every now and then. If we only talk about the past work we have done, we can probably survive for a year telling about the same old stuff, maybe for 2 years. But if you don't keep on working every day, probably you'll not be able to keep on telling what you're doing. So please, never stop working hard. As long as you do that, nobody can shake you. Don't take shortcuts. Don't take external help if it is not absolutely required. The young generation having very less patience and wanting instant gratification, they really, seek help. So I'm keeping this particular plate for incubation. I'm going home. You are there in the lab after 2 hours, whether you can keep it inside. For anything, I want to centrifuge this thing, but I have to catch a bus. Can you do it for me? Many things that we can do, we don't have to, take help. We tend to, seek help. That only shows, our passion in what we are doing. What if the other person is not doing it properly? What if he is also, entrusted to someone else? At the end of the day, ownership probably doesn't lie in the person that you are telling. So it's very, very important. Don't really take help. Another thing is, try to see whether you can solve the puzzle. Only if you are not able to solve the puzzle, go to your mentor, your guide. Try your level best. Then only seek help. All of you know the life cycle of a butterfly. There is a larva. There is egg, larva, pupa, and the adult stage. The egg becomes the larva or the caterpillar, and the caterpillar. And the caterpillar becomes the pupa, and pupa will encircle itself with a cocoon, and it will or the uh, chrysalis. So this becomes a kind of hard shell, and then a lot of metamorphosis goes there. So entire, the body fluid is going to be generated there. A digestive juice of this pupa is going to kill a lot of tissues and cells in the body and make it kind of liquid kind of a thing, and that will flow into the developing wings of the, adult butterfly later on. And the wing formation, the new eye formation, formation of legs, many things happen inside that shell. It is when you are a PhD researcher, the metamorphosis of your entire research life happens, and you have to undergo that struggle. You cannot get that easy help. Can you write me a paper? Can you make a poster for me? Never ever. So one boy who was seeing this, the cocoon or the pupa of butterfly undergoing the struggle, he thought, let me help. And he made a small nick or small hole in the shell of this pupa, and the entire floppy butterfly came out, and it was never able to fly in its entire life. The PhD scholar whose papers their guides write, or whose presentations and everything is done by other the people in the lab, they will never ever be able to become a real researchers in their lifetime. They can only get their degree, but they will never be able to become researchers. Those researchers who are listening this, never ever try to get help from somebody. If you are capable of doing it yourself, please do that. It is my sincere request. Power of observation. It has to be kind of very, very deep for the researchers to be a researcher. If you go back in the 1928-29, the Scottish scientist Dr. Alexander Fleming, who had gone for a holiday by keeping certain petri dishes on the bench, he didn't keep it in the incubator because he thought that he's not going to be there for a few days. Even if he keeps it on a bench, by the time he comes back, the staphylococcus, the bacteria, will grow. It doesn't really need 37 degrees Celsius incubator. So let me keep it outside and go. And by the time I come back, it will grow. And he came back after a few days. For his surprise, he noticed the mold or the fungus seemed to be preventing the bacteria around it from growing. So this was an observation. He really didn't observe that one. He came to the lab, and the bacteria, there was some other fungal colonies, and some bacteria was not there. And he thought, let me just throw it and start a fresh culture. And one of his friends came visiting him, and he wanted to show these plates to his friend. And when he was holding it to show his friends, that's the time he really observed this zone of inhibition, which was caused by penicillin notatum, which was later on, it was developed as a penicillin antibiotic, which has saved the lives of millions of people in the future. If he were to throw that plate without observing the zone of inhibition, probably penicillin wouldn't have been there today in the market. So whatever small things that we do in the lab, I think that power of observation, getting deeper into it and see what really is happening, is very, very important. So my request to young researcher is sharpen your eyes and don't see something. You please observe something. Look very deep. Just seeing is not going to be enough. To develop that quality, you have to really, really go deeper and observe it very deeply. So let me just take a sip of water. If there are any questions, please. I'm not able to see the chat box now as I'm in the presentation mode. Am I audible or any interruptions?
So you are audible. Sir. The chat box is open now. Audience can put in their questions there.
Yeah.
So maybe 5 minutes. So there is one question, sir, from Anil Behera.
Yeah.
He wants to know, how do you handle mental comparison performance of that of your junior, immediate senior, or other students in the lab group?
Which comparison? First part, I didn't hear it properly.
The Anil Behera wants to know, how do you handle it when your mentor compares your performance to that of your junior, senior, or other students in the lab group?
Yeah. Good question, actually. Usually, a mentor knows it very well, what is expected from a junior researcher versus a researcher who has already spent like 2 years or 3 years versus those who are in the verge of submission of the thesis. Any seasoned mentor or guide will not compare the people who have joined just a month ago or 3 months ago to the person who has really joined 1 or 2 or 3 years. One. Second one, among the people who have joined at the same time, there could be a difference in the talent or the skill set. Somebody may be coming from a premier institution. Somebody may be coming from a college that is there in a kind of socially less, or lesser socio-economic belt, where the laboratory facilities are not that great. So one is, when you make this comparison, that should not be discouraging the one who is not privileged or coming from a background that is not having enough scientific exposure. We do have that kind of situation because we have something called MSc by research in biotherapeutics, where they spend 1 semester here and 3 semesters they spend it in a biopharma laboratory doing a major research work. The people can join this course who are BSc degree holders, and they can be MBBS degree holders, BDS degree holders, pharma degree holders. All of them come from different background, different skill sets. And then we take extra effort to bring them to the same stage It needs a lot of effort, extra teaching hours in the evenings, in the weekends, all those things. A good mentor and a guide should never discourage anybody for not having enough skill set. They should concentrate on how to, give more guidance and coaching, bring them to the same forum. Having said that, that interest to learn is very much required for that particular student. Let me just stop it there.
I think see, the same way I would like to ask that, even the students compare their supervisor with others actually. So that's the comparison would always be there, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is there. All supervisors are not the same. Somebody may be having an H index of 40, somebody may be having 5, somebody may be very senior professor. So that depends. When you select a mentor supervisor, you have to really choose whom you want to take as a supervisor. When I was in my secondary MNC, it was very clear to me that who should be my guide once I finished MSc. So there is no question of thinking, oh, I should have gone there, here. Those confusions should be, as much as possible mitigated initially.
I think we can take the rest of the questions at the end of the session.
Yeah. So designing, let me proceed. Designing and executing the experiments. The stages in designing and executing a set of experiments. One is formulate very clear hypothesis. If you err there, if you make any mistakes there, that mistake will remain throughout your PhD career if you are a PhD student. And if you are developing a project for funding, and that entire project will suffer if the hypothesis itself is not very clear. Design and execute experiments to test the hypothesis using validated method. Even if your hypothesis is very clear, if you use the methods which are not validated, which are not really the world standard, even if you get results, those results, people may not accept those results. The methods have to be really validated and has to undergo the scrutiny of the scientists that we can use this. For example, if you want to count the cells, hemocytometer. If you want live dead cells, so what kind of the staining you do, and if you really want to do the viability test, so MTT test, or what test you do, whether that test has been done enough times to prove that that is the validated method to prove this. If you want to measure something, how do you measure it? You measure it using a tape, using a scale, using a calipers. How much objective and detail-oriented specific you can get. You have to really see the methods that have been internationally used for that particular parameter, which is very crucial, and analyze and interpret the experimental results objectively and statistically wherever possible. We have seen so many research outcomes that are coming, which are biased, and even if they say that it is statistically significant, the statistics applied there are very wrong. Some other method should have been applied. Just to give an example, somebody told someone else that all cows have 4 legs. And this person went to validate that statement. That was the hypothesis. All cows have 4 legs. And he went to survey cows outside, and he found 4 cows. Out of the 4 cows, 1 cow had only 1 leg. Only 3 legs. It had an accident and 1 leg was cut. So he came back and made a statement that 25% of the cows have 3 legs. What it means, one is the sample size. So to say something like that, counting 3 legs is not the method at all. So he might have really, scored thousands of legs. This 25% might have become like 0.001 or whatever it is, which is really, no significant difference. So one has to be really validate the sample size and right statistical method in order to validate that research hypothesis, which is very, very crucial. Many times we see, I sat in the research protocol committee of this university, where the hypothesis generation itself, the sample size itself, the statistical method they are proposing itself is not really right. So here comes the role of mentors and guides to really see that what students come up is really going to withstand the scrutiny of peer-reviewed journals once it finally goes to the publication. And junior faculty definitely need the help of senior faculty and statisticians to figure out the sample size and the statistical methods. Accept or reject the hypothesis or refine the hypothesis. At the end of the research study, one has to either accept or reject the hypothesis. Sometimes what happens is they will reframe the entire hypothesis and test it again. So these are various steps in designing and executing experiments. So once successful, publish the findings in peer-reviewed journals. Don't go for something that is not Scopus indexed or not really indexed in any major indexing uh, network, and don't publish somewhere where nobody can access it. So it's very important to publish somewhere, if possible. If your universities or workplaces subscribe for open access journals, the citation index is much more for open access journals, where many people can access it without paying the prerequisite fee. So about the hypothesis, just one slide. Hypothesis is an educated guess or prediction that can be tested. The success of the investigation or the experiment depends upon the quality of the hypothesis. Generating clear hypothesis enables investigator to test these hypotheses in an analytic study. Hypothesis has to develop before data is generated. Many times people will change the rule of the game when the game has started, which should not be the case at all. So develop the hypothesis, freeze it before you go for data generation. Example of a good hypothesis: when you are fasting for 12 hours, your blood glucose levels are low. Very clear, testable, simple, written as a statement, and establishes the participants' variables and predicts the effect. So something that we can clearly communicate and test has to be the type of the hypothesis. And slowly change the gear. So what is the basic research? What is translational research? If we have a chance to translate our basic research into something that will help the humankind, one should always strive for that. The reason I'm telling this is I have done the basic and exploratory research. I have also done the translational research. I have also done the clinical research. I have also done the research and put the products into the market for the human well-being. So it is a kind of complete life cycle of research, and we will always get that satisfaction when something that we do touches the human life and makes some improvement. Not that everybody will have that chance, but whatever part we do, I think we should always think that what is the future for this research. Some people, what they do is they take a plant and look into the endophytes in that plant, and then that is over. Make a list. These are the endophytes present in this particular plant, medicinal plant or another plant, and then get into another plant. Do you think what is the end for such research? There are millions of plants, and this kind of study can go forever. But what is the next stage? You isolate some endophytes. What then those endophytes are capable of? What is that? Antimicrobial effect or anti-cancer effect? Or what it is capable of? And can you just isolate them and grow them? And can you isolate those compounds? And can you take it to larger trial? And finally make a commercial sense out of it. Not that everything goes there. A lot of it, it's a funnel thing. When you start with thousands of the endophytes, probably one or two might really have commercial impact. But one should have that focus, and direction should be that, not that it will be really always successful. And when you embark into biomedical, I think whatever you get, you should also test it in the preclinical studies. So for drug studies, we still have to use the animal models. For the cosmetics, India has already banned using the animals for the developmental work. Human trials, depending on the complexity of what you're developing, it could be one phase trial. If it is just a topical one and it is not causing any dangers, and it could be phase 1, 2, 3, and then getting in the market if it is an injectable product. And then one has to follow all the relevant guidelines, law of the country, and then see how it is going to affect the public. And if you really think that you yourself can develop a better product, you must do that and replace this product and study the outcome in the populations. That is kind of a good translational research track. If we have a chance, we should really embark translational research rather than just putting ourselves only in basic research. I'm not discounting the basic research. Without basic research, translation research is not possible. That is really the foundation. But if there is a chance to really get into the next stage, one should try to do that. Yeah. But just to give a few examples. So way back, this paper was published in 1998. Myself, my guide, Dr. K.R. Sridhar, and Felix Barlocker from Canada, Mount Allison University. Again, the reason I'm putting it here is not to just to showcase that this was published or my article with my guide has been. That is not the intention here. Intention here is the universities in India are now putting a lot of focus on internationally co-authored publications. MAHE is encouraging it big time now. Since last 2-3 years, we are hearing this buzzword, internationally co-authored articles. This was in 1998 when my mentor really thought that we should publish papers with international scientists. So that will give visibility to the researchers and the university. I think as much as possible, we should do it. In MAHE now, people are saying that we should have a co-guide for most of our PhDs from other country. And at least 50% of our publications should be co-authored by international authors. So I'm glad that I've been exposed to these kind of things while I was doing my PhD. So this is just an example of internationally co-authored article. The work was on the breakdown of ficus and eucalyptus leaves in the organically polluted river in India, the fungal diversity and ecological functions. And the next one, I was telling you that one is, we do research in a group in the laboratory, internationally co-authored. And sometimes you should also test whether you can be an independent researcher or not. So I always tell that your real research starts when you submit your thesis and get your PhD, where you don't have to work on a problem that is being told by others. You have all the freedom, or your real guide, if he's a real guide, he will encourage you to embark the independent research. I got that atmosphere, and I thought, let me just do something independent, and got a project approved by DST, the DST Young Scientist Project, and worked on something, and then published one paper where the experimental work was done by me and paper was written by me. And it was a pleasure not to boast that I have written a paper. And some of the young researchers, soon after their PhD, I think you should really test whether you can do the bench work, do the experiments, then interpret it and write it, communicate it. Can you complete this entire life cycle on your own? You don't have to do it lifelong. And it's always better to work with others and then train your students, Earlier you were publishing your mentor, then you will become the mentor or guide and publishing. There's a good way. But here and there, you just test your aptitude, whether you can, complete this cycle on your own. Review articles. So sometimes what happens is we will not have enough of the experimental results to write the primary research article. So that should not deter you from publishing. So whatever field you have started doing your research, in the initial 6 months or 9 months, amaze all the literature and collect them, read them, digest them, make notes of them, and start writing very good research articles. So whatever I learned early on in my days in Dr. Sridhar's lab, now when I took one PhD student recently, I asked her, let us together, before you generate your data, let us publish a very good review article. So we recently published last year a overview of current advances in the treatment of inflammatory diseases using mesenchymal stromal cells, secretome actually. So this is an example that not only the internationally co-authored papers and the other types of articles, also concentrate on research articles when you don't have enough of the primary data to publish a research article. And try to embark into translational or product development that can change or that can contribute something. This was something that I had published in 2021, a novel bioactive formulation derived from the conditioned media of stem cells to reduce the under-eye dark circles. Under the eyes, sometimes you have dark circles, and that becomes a social stigma. And when I was talking to a lot of dermatologists, they told that there is no good product in India that can take care of this indication. So then I took it as a challenge, and then we started working on it and developed a kind of topical formulation which can be put under the eye, and within 2 to 3 months, most of the dark circle will vanish. So it is having multiple efficacy, and then that has been tested in vitro models, in human volunteers, and published, and product is already in the market. Then you get the full satisfaction. Something I started from scratch has gone to the Indian market. So something if you can do, if there is an opportunity, not that all of you have to get into this, if there is an opportunity to put something into market, you should really try to do that actually. And then new method development. So I told you earlier that use the validated methods to do your research. But then most of the methods are developed by others. Can we also contribute something with our knowledge to develop something new that other people can use it as a new method or validated method in their research? Recently, we developed something, the way we grow the stem cells. So whether we can use some other substratum called macrocarrier-based substratum to culture the stem cells in large scale for commercial application. So far in the globe, they are only producing it for clinical trials and kind of small scale. So it is not enough to solve the large scale manufacturing of the cells for commercial application. Then we thought um, got along with a couple of scientists from Singapore and did a joint work and published this new method to produce the mesenchymal stromal cells in large scale for commercial applications. Again, not to boast, we can contribute to this area of new method development so that we can push the boundaries of our field and others can also make use of these things. And again, of course, look for the opportunities where you can do a little more work. At the time of COVID, we were restricted, we were not able to come to the lab. Then we thought, we can do some writing work. So some of us, three of the faculty here in MAHE, we conceived the idea of writing a good book, which costs about 2,250 rupees, available in Amazon, the COVID-19, a multi-dimensional response, where everybody is panicking what it is. It is going to wipe out the entire humankind. What is the immunogenicity? What is the escape? And at that time, when we published, the vaccines were not available. Entire complexity was there. So, to address all those things, we embarked the project of writing this book, and which is successfully published. Again, the research articles, co-authored things, then the, enhancing the horizon by developing new methods. And some of the senior professors who are here in this forum have also published good monographs, keys for identification, taxonomy. There are various ways one can contribute to this, scientific literature, whatever ways possible, rather than resorting only to the, research articles. One should really focus on various ways one can contribute. But just to tell something about what I was doing for almost 10 years when I was working for a stem cell development company, I'll just take 2 minutes. It's a kind of complete life cycle development of a product for human diseases, starting from sourcing the stem cells from bone marrow or adipose tissue or water and jelly of the umbilical cord, that is the source in which we get the stem cells, bring it to the GMP laboratory, good manufacturing practice laboratory, where the particles are almost not there and microbial contamination is almost not there. Developing and maintaining the GMP labs are extremely expensive, but we had one of the early GMP labs of India approved for clinical development, actually, and then growing these stem cells in large scale. The middle picture with the kind of pinkish thing. So what you see there is a kind of the cell stacks, actually. So those cell stacks are having the stem cells which are adhered to the plastic surface, and they're growing there. And on the right side, the top last panel is the cells which are being frozen in liquid nitrogen at minus 185 to minus 196 degrees Celsius, where it can be kept for several years. And if needed, it can be transported using something called dry shipper. The cement color, the vertical cylindrical box you see is called dry shipper. And dry shippers can be used to transport these stem cells from one location to another location, even to another country. And once we grow these stem cells, we have done a battery of preclinical studies for various disease indications and also to prove the safety. And then once safety is proven in the animal models, then we embark the clinical trials. It was a part of developing the stem cells for various clinical trials. One of the very first clinical trials approved by Government of India for critical limb ischemia, for osteoarthritis, for peripheral artery diseases, many of them. So we have produced billions of stem cells which were sent to various parts of India, almost 15, 20 different hospitals, government and private hospitals, where we have done a large number of clinical trials. And then 3 of our products are already authorized by Government of India, and they're already in the market for disease indications, being marketed by some of the companies like Cipla, Alchem Labs, all those things. That means that once I was a mycologist, and there was an opportunity to slightly change my field into the cancer biology, and then later on into stem cells. So I don't think one has to be really bound to a particular field. If there is an inclination and opportunity, doesn't mean that one has to really leave their field and go. But I think it is very important to be agile and take the opportunity as it comes. If it matches with your interest, move on. That's the message I wanted to tell. And once you come to a position like now, Dr. Sridhar, Dr. Digibhat, they are all kind of leaders in the field. So once we kind of attain that field, we have to really see how we can groom or empower other researchers. I'm trying my best in this field. So it is our responsibility to inspire and mentor the next generation. By sharing our knowledge and experiences, we can empower aspiring researchers to make meaningful contributions to the scientific community. So the leadership qualities, one of the leaders in this particular field, or one of the famous authors in this field is John Maxwell from the US. And he has written a book which is called as Five Levels of Leadership. I kind of read it a few times because I found it very, very useful. So that talks about the five different layers or levels of leadership: leadership by position, by permission, by production, by people development, and pinnacle. For example, leadership by position means once you are a guide, your students will listen to you because they are bound to listen to you. You are a guide. If they don't listen to you, they may not get their papers or PhD. So that is the fear of your position. That is one level of leadership. If you are no more guide, nobody will listen to you. That is as transient as your chair or your position. Another one is permission. Permission means people are following you or considering you as a leader or guide because they want to consider you, not they're forced to consider. They really wish or want to consider you as a research leader and they listen to you. Another level is the next level is production. The way you are producing research, the publications, you attending the conferences, presenting there, that is your performance or your production that makes other to consider you as a true leader, and there will be a fanfare, people start following you. And then the next stage, the fourth stage, is the people development, and most of the senior professors are in this stage. They have kind of attained what they wanted to attain, and they are really engaged in people development, doing workshops, writing books, and going to the conferences and giving the keynote addresses, and to see how the entire field can come up. So that's the next stage. So the young researchers, I'm just telling you the transition where you should go from where you are. And the next one is pinnacle. So pinnacle is you don't have to tell that you are involved in developing people or you are a renowned person in the field. That means you don't have to blow your trumpet anymore. People have already considered you as one of the key figures in this field. Only a few people can attain this stage, and I wish all of you will be able to attain this particular stage of pinnacle in the research in whatever area that you are doing today. So once I worked for about 10 years in the corporate, once I joined MAHE, I thought, let me now embark in developing a research center and get a few good faculty and develop masters, the PhD and postdoctoral research scholars. So this is the building that I gave a proposal to Manipal University and costed about 10 to 15 crores with instrumentation, building everything. Now I'm also heading this entire research center where we have about 8 faculty who have all trained in the US for about minimum of 3 to 4 years. And now we have about 15 PhD scholars and about 30 students of Masters by Research in Biotherapeutics. And the idea is to have about 50 PhD scholars by 2025 and embark in translational research. That is, the vision is to harbor highly collaborative, extramurally funded research programs to innovate, develop, and translate biological therapeutics, mainly in the area of cell, gene, protein, nanobiomaterials, and 3D bioprinting, carry out cutting-edge research in the area, then attract funding from biopharma industries to develop products and processes relevant to the industries, focus on developing human resources required for such industries by imparting education and training programs in biotherapeutics. So these are some of the laboratory facilities. In Indian universities, we don't have such facilities. In MAHE, in our center, for the first time, we have developed the GMP, Good Manufacturing Practice Laboratories, where we can embark the product development, which can finally go to the commercial market. It requires certain prerequisites. The flooring should be epoxy-coated flooring, which is fully washable, modular panels, which are powder-coated and no particle shredding. Number of air changes per room has to be minimum of 30 air changes per hour. And then the air that flows into these rooms are filtered using 0.3 micron HEPA filters. There is a return duct. There is about 90% recirculation. The temperature is always 23 plus or minus 2 degrees Celsius. Humidity is around 55 plus or minus 5%. So entire internal situation is highly controlled so that there is no microbial growth interfering with what research you want to do. We have a few rooms like this, and we have about 12 to 13 companies where we work collaboratively to develop new products for Indian community. So this is some of the other labs that we have developed. And basically, my message to the young researcher is to please continue the research journey. The pursuit of scientific inquiry is rewarding and enriching journey. Embrace the challenges, celebrate the discoveries, and continue to nurture your passion for research. Your contributions will shape the future of knowledge and future of this country. I have 1 more minute, so let me get into the conclusions. By crafting compelling research questions, that is hypothesis, and testing them through experiments, you are nurturing your passion for research. If I embarked on a journey of discovery and innovation, keep exploring, questioning, and contributing to the ever-evolving world of science. And this is the Center for Biotherapeutics Research. And feel free to ask questions. It's 12:15. Dr. Ram Damodar has given me 1 hour 15 minutes for the talk. Thank you.
Sir, can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
That was a very inspiring talk. Thank you very much for that. You can stop presenting so that we see your face. Yeah. So, I mean, before I let the audience ask you questions, let me ask a couple of questions to you.
Sure.
See, as a science leader, especially as a strategist in a private university, how do you balance the basic research and the translational research?
Good question. It's a kind of a deep-rooted question. As a university, we have to really foster the basic exploratory, translational, clinical, and commercial research. And we also need to encourage innovation, entrepreneurship. So we cannot really focus more on one particular field. If it happens, it will be skewed. So we always, see about 5% of the people who are getting into innovative research and also entrepreneurship pursuit. That is okay, but if we can flip it into about 10%, that will be a great thing to do. And there are many departments who are involved in basic and exploratory research. We don't really push them too much to get into translational. So there is something, the overall, if you publish about like 4,000, 5,000 publications per year in MAHE, we know that what basket has to be which size and what kind of funding university can give. So it's an overall balance, and we also identify researchers in those areas and form focus groups. And when the companies also approach us, we say that these are the areas of research, and we will connect you with these researchers. So it is not really a cakewalk to inspire people who are into the, the experimental research, to drag them into the innovative and translation research. So what happens sometimes, we'll have to infuse people from external world, those who are in other premier institutions or from abroad, into the cutting edge. For example, if MAHE wants to do research on chimeric antigen therapy for cancer, we don't have any experts today in MAHE, but I thought that we should harbor that kind of research in MAHE, and we scouted for somebody who has enough academic and research and industry experience in there, and we have kind of sent an offer letter, and the person is going to join in about a few weeks' time. So this is, we have to, as a strategist and leader, we have to think, what is the area that we have to encourage, where the money should flow. So not that easy, but one should have an overall picture where we have to go in next 5 to 10 to 15 years. I'm a part of the master plan committee for MAHE, where MAHE should lead in next 15 years' time. Today, if we have 28,000 students, in 15 years' time, how many students we need to have? Whether we have all the classrooms, basic facilities, hostels, sports, everything, and the research funding if they want to get into the internship and the exchange scholarship, all those things. So it's a little bigger ball game, but really needs deep thinking. Yeah.
My second question is, the importance of communication as a researcher.
Yeah.
We need to sell our ideas
Yes.
to investors, or not only to our peer review.
Yes. Yeah.
People who are working in the field.
Yeah.
Can you just give some insights from your personal experiences? I mean, you have been excellent since since I knew you as a teacher, my team in MSc. Can you just maybe spend 1 minute or 2 minutes on this, please?
Sure, Dr. Damodar. So many a times we don't understand what the other person wants to hear. The major gap is there. We want to tell what we want to tell rather than what really the other person is interested in. When you go for a business meeting, you have to have enough background work. what are the area they are working, what is their interest, what is that we are doing will match their interest. So I have seen many researchers, they will go with a PowerPoint presentation and open their PPT, bada, they will start talking. And they will tell in the beginning that please don't interrupt me, don't ask any questions in the middle. All the questions will be at the end. Otherwise, I will lose my focus and lose the flow. Once it happened that I went to Mumbai to meet the CEO of a company for potential fundraising. So my company leaders told me that this is the 20 slides presentation that you need to give it to him. I told, okay, let me have this slide deck and take it with him. So I just started opening my laptop. The CEO told me, please don't open your laptop. Many of the people in my company, if they go to that kind of meeting, they will completely feel nervous because they cannot talk without those slides. I know, because there's the kind of the training that we got. Our meter starts when the first slide comes up, actually. So this CEO told that, please don't open your PowerPoint presentation. You just tell me in 5 or 10 minutes, impress me why I should invest in this particular product. What is the benefit to the company? You don't tell me what is your benefit to your company, what is the benefit to my company. If you tell me in a convincing way that I can convince the chairman, I'm in the game. So it was just 5 to 10 minutes. He told, I'm in the game. We are going to invest several crores into your company. It is not just one-sided that what you want to communicate. It also has to be what sense it makes to them to convince their leadership. So which has to be communicated in a way they want. If it is a PowerPoint presentation, you have to give that. If it is just one-on-one talk, you have to do that. And you have to be mindful of their time. So many people, if you have half an hour for the meeting, they will start talking for 1 hour, something like that. At the last 10, 15 minutes, other people will only curse them that, we were late for the other meeting. There is no concluding remarks for that meeting because it has already crossed the given time. So one has to be very mindful about the time. When you told that about 75 minutes you can present, it was the 75th minute I should stop. I mean, that should be time sense and what other people want to hear. So I think we have to keep these things in mind and we have to practice a few times. Practice makes us kind of nearly perfect. Nothing is perfect, but one has to be prepared for any kind of situation. Yeah.
I just wanted to add, the importance of good communication also lies in understanding that our peer reviewers are not our enemies. They're here to help us. And
exactly.
We need to smartly handle them and respond to their queries and maybe be respectful to them. That is also because we focused on the investor. And here the communication for the early researchers also important when it comes to dealing with sometimes very annoying reviewers also. Yeah.
Exactly. That mutual respect and being in not in a confrontational mode, in a consultative mode always helps actually.
Yeah, thank you, sir. We'll ask let Professor Shishupala please ask your question.
Sir, namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Dr. Raviraja, it was very nice to hear you. Such a wonderful experiences shared. I really like the way you quoted different examples in order to push our students. As a mentor, I have a problem with the present day students. I would seek your answer. Most of the people, students who are joining to research, would not put a lot of effort in making their synapses, as you rightly pointed out. And most of it are given by us. And whether they have understood or not, we will not be able to really know until they come after 3 years or 4 years, depending on the situation. But the problem is, most of them look for a ready-made genetic engineering or sequencing or modern methodology. They would prefer to send the samples, get the data, and put it as theirs. I have a huge problem of convincing them not to. So, would you like to address such situation, because many youngsters are here? Thank you very much.
Definitely, thank you. So this, unfortunately, young researchers, please don't mistake me. Unfortunately, the current generation wants a quick fix for everything. They need a lot of patience. So in one of our hostels, one student, in the morning when she wanted to take bath, the hot water did not come. Rather than asking the caretaker, the student calls the mother. Mother, can you tell the caretaker that there is no hot water here? Mother was sitting miles away in a different city. It is that they don't want to, just take one more step of reaching out to the right person. Everything they have to do in their comfort, something like that. So the only thing that we can do here, what we have done in our research center, is having a very strong doctoral advisory committee. The student has to register for PhD. They have to present to this doctoral committee, and all the committee members have to be satisfied with their coursework, their knowledge in this field, and their progress. So if somebody is not really coming up to that level, in the very beginning itself, we have to discourage them from taking this journey. Only qualified people who are genuinely interested in this research should be allowed to do research. One kind of funnel there to filter them if they are not interested should happen as quick as possible. Once we admit into the program, then the very periodic assessment, one by the guide, another one by the doctor advisory committee, and another one which is institutional committee. So for example, here every week we have a journal club. Every researcher will have to present every month to all the researchers and faculty what progress they have made. Otherwise, what happens is one researcher will not come to know the work of the other researcher. They are so narrowed that person sitting next to them, they don't know what they are doing unless they are doing a combined project. I think this periodic review and them presenting to the team, the guide, then co-guide, and also doctor advisory committee and entire department will help us a lot. So that periodic revision has to be given, periodic review has to be given more importance. And again, clearly telling them that this is the expectation before the next 6 months. I want this one paper, you have to go to one workshop or symposia, without which you will not progress into the next stage. Very clear what is expected. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Dr. Mohan Kumar, please.
Yes, sir. So it was a good talk. My question is, nowadays, if you wanted to apply for some funding agencies or anything, they always rely on some kind of proof of concept.
Yeah.
And that become more common in most of the funding agencies. And, sometimes we want to start a research or something like that.
Yeah.
Itself, we need some type of grant.
Yeah.
And see, how do we include this kind of proof of concept to approach for, major funding options or anything?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. Once I started this research center here and recruited most of the people who have been working in the US, they came here and they wanted to apply for grants, and none of them had the preliminary data or proof of concept to apply for Indian funding agencies. That became as a bigger roadblock to secure their initial grants. So there are two ways of solving this problem. One is the larger universities like the MAHE give something called seed money for about 1 to 3 lakhs to generate some data which is worthy of applying for larger grants. So if at all there is an opportunity within the institution to apply for those seed grants, seed money, one has to do that. And with that money, with taking some interns, one should develop some data within the first 6 or 9 months to generate preliminary data to apply for the larger grants. Another thing that we have done is hook them with the seasoned researchers in the other departments within MAHE and apply as co-guides. Most of the preliminary data comes from the PIs, and these people will be co-guide, and their expertise and what they have done in the previous institution will count, and their publication will count. They will be qualified as a co-guides at that stage, not really as the PIs. These are the two measures that we have taken, and that is really giving results now. We are now in the last 1 year, we have secured almost 3 crores of research funding from the national government agencies. So it is really helping to build the grant funding from scratch. Yeah.
Yeah, so then again, so regarding this animal studies, you want to include this animal studies in the research. And again, we have to constitute some ethical committee or animal study committee or any other, finding out the models, proper models.
Yeah.
Again, that is a time consuming, and moreover, most of the times, on the basis we will not able to get this approval from the committee. So in that case, how do we go about it?
This is an institutional reform. For example, in MAHE, we have an animal ethics committee. So which earlier they used to meet maybe once in 2 months or 3 months. Now, because of the number of submissions that we have, they meet once in a month, and if required, they meet more frequently, and the university leadership will have to give them a mandate. Within this period, we have to clear the application that have come for scrutiny. For example, the other ethics committee, there is one more. This is about animal research. Even for human research, there is human ethics committee, We used to have one ethics committee and it used to take like 3 months. Now we have like 2 ethics committee. Within like 3-4 weeks, all the applications are cleared. This is an internal reform of the university to support the researchers to see that there are no such major roadblocks when they apply for the applications for animal ethics or human ethics. So this is something you have to bring it to the notice of the university senior administration. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. Then, Dr. Raviraja, there is a question in the chat box. Hamsini wants to know, I will read out for you.
Yeah.
Hamsini wants to know how to select a proper topic for research.
Yeah. Nobody will do it for you. So one is you have to really understand which is the broader area that you want to do research. So as somebody told earlier, and everybody want to do research in genetic engineering, recombinant DNA, or some gene editing, blah blah, all those things. Everybody can get there because labs need to have such facilities, and the guide need to have such in-depth knowledge. One is, what is your area? Are you interested in ecological problems? Are you interested in developing some clinical product, or are you interested in some kind of survey? So first see what your heart says, where you want to get into, where your interest lies. Once you do that, then developing a specific problem, you have to see who is the potential guide. Now there are many means you can pull the people working in that area. You can go to Google Scholars and write a topic, and you will get a list of publications published by renowned scientists and researchers. You shortlist the people who have worked in that area and approach them and start discussing. This is my broader interest, and what is the gap in this area? What can be a very good research problem? So again, nobody can pick a research problem and give it to you. And if it is given like that, your passion cannot go there. Actually, it should be a two-way consultative process to arrive at a real research problem that will motivate you, and the guide will also be able to guide you. Yeah.
The Prathamesh wants to know how can we improve collaborative skills? That's a good question, I guess.
Yeah. So I was talking to somebody about 3 years ago, and he himself came and, "Sir, we want to collaborate with you." I asked him what research you are doing. He told, "We are doing some work on cell biology." I asked him, "Can you just elaborate?" "No, sir, it is confidential." Then I asked, "Okay, so how many publications that you have published?" "About 10 publications in the last 2-3 years." "Any patents?" "Yes, 2-3 patents." "So in which areas you have published patents?" "Sir, that is proprietary information." Then I told him, "Look, the patent titles, patent abstracts, everything is available in the public domain. One can pull it." And with this mindset of getting help from others and not giving help to others, this is not going to work in a collaborative way. In order to foster the collaboration, you take the first step. Once we established a research center here, we made an open house for all university scientists. Come to Manipal Centre for Biotherapeutics Research, talk to our faculty, see our infrastructure. So starting from Bio LC, which costs about 1.3 crores, we have array of instrumentation today. Come, you will be allowed to use all this instrumentation. Let us work together. Like Modi ji's Make in India, let us research in MCBR. You take the first step. That has actually elicited a lot of collaboration. We have almost submitted 10 to 15 collaborative research grants with other institutions of MAHE now. I think we cannot really keep on expecting others to come and take the first step. Rather, let us be proactive in finding the right collaborators.
Yeah, but Dr. Raviraja, how do we protect our IPR?
Yeah. See, IPR, we don't have to really protect. The IPR law will protect it. So what we can, for example, a company will want to come and do a joint research with us. The memorandum of understanding because I have fostered agreements with 250 companies here in MAHE, because I have established this entire corporate relations verticals as a new vertical for MAHE. So when the company comes, the first thing that says, we will give funding, we will also send our manpower, but whatever intellectual property that we develop belongs to company. I tell them that will not work that way. University will not give its, the brain power, intellectual property, all those things, and you can claim everything. It is not like that. You come here, any pre-existing intellectual property you have is yours. Whatever we already have is ours. Whatever we develop together has to be co-owned by both parties, whether it's another company or another institution or another researchers. It has to be co-owned by both parties. If it is a company, we can give the exclusive rights to take it to the market to that particular company, because it is not university's primary interest to commercialize the products. So once they commercialize it, the university wants some royalty again to pump it back to the university research. Once these terms and conditions are set properly right at the beginning, I don't see any conflict. We have that model with several companies and institutions and other researchers. Actually, it is working beautifully.
Yeah, that's crystal clear. Thank you very much. Generally wants to know what options are available to an individual at the bottom of a hierarchy who finds an unethical research practice being carried out. I think it's this issue here.
Yeah, that means he's a whistleblower. He's not doing it.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a very tricky question. Unfortunately, many people, if they are very senior in the ladder, they want to bury it down, and they will take it very personal if somebody points out that they are resorting into this kind of unethical practice. But many leading universities have a grievances cell which is maintaining the confidentiality. Whistleblowers, the identity will not be revealed. We have one such cell in MAHE. If you see any illegal practice, plagiarism, and all those things, there is a cell to which you can complain, and your identity will never come out, but they will do an impartial investigation as to whether it is happening or not. I think we have to develop such mechanisms so that this young faculty will be protected against any unforeseen actions by the senior people or the powerful people.
Yeah, that's quite challenging. Thank you. Dr. Kriti Poduwal wants to know, how do I motivate my project students to be more involved in their dissertation work? They are slightly escaping and take the help of AI like ChatGPT. He didn't mention ChatGPT, I inserted. AI, without analyzing data themselves, please.
So it is now becoming very common. I have a son, and when people are asking him in the school to make a PPT, he will also go to ChatGPT to take the help. So it is becoming very, very common. But what we need to do is we have to really talk to them more frequently. I have PhD students here, and when they resort into any kind of this shortcut, I call them and give them my 2 cents that you can get hold of all these tools to get more information, but your real knowledge is what you really know. If somebody asks you to give a presentation, what do you know? At that particular moment, you cannot go to ChatGPT and pull a presentation. So that brainstorming and ad hoc presentations without giving enough notice and also appreciating them. So when the visitors come, almost visitors come to our center every day, and then we make it a point that every researcher will get an opportunity to tell the visitor what they are doing. So they are prepared, what they need to tell, and those people who are visiting will ask them, are you motivated to research? What is your, the source of inspiration, everything. So when it is superimposed or kind of they are bombarded with the same question, why do you want to? There are people who are doing 3D bioprinting here, and people will come and ask them, so why do you want to do 3D bioprinting? Actually, they were asking those questions earlier. Why should I do 3D printing? When they start telling other people why they are doing it, it's a kind of self-hypnotism. They automatically start getting interest because they are telling it to other people also, and they will kind of internalize that. I think the culture of the institution and frequent discussion of that topic, that makes a lot of difference. And right from the beginning, we have to inculcate it. We in the center have a meeting on Monday mornings at 9:00. People cannot step in at 9:01. Not allowed. Not that want to be Hitler or something like that. That is the discipline that you develop in the center, and that will lead in many ways later on in their life. They will really appreciate later on, although they may curse it Monday morning when Monday morning should not come. They may think like that. I think developing that atmosphere of inspired discussions and inclusiveness will slowly bring that culture. Yeah.
Thank you. And I will let Dr. Nagendra Chandravanshi to ask the question. We have only 7 more minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please restrict to. Please limit to only one question, please. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for today's session, and thank you, Micro Asia. Yeah, sir, I have some question like a Chat GPT already asked, but sir, my question is that most of the students are using Chat GPT. My also PhD student, and then using some paraphrasing, and then come back with some modified data, and like some manuscript. So they just trying to just believe me, we are just drafted, we have created. So, sir, how can manage this situation, and how can I motivate to them do the pure research?
One is now there are softwares that are coming up which can detect whether the information has been taken from ChatGPT. Very soon, the information that is gathered from these the AI-based tools will also be subjected to some kind of the scrutiny by other tools that are under development. So what we need to do them is again arranging some kind of forums to express themselves. For example, we have something, talk for 2 minutes on your research. All of a sudden, so there is no option of getting into ChatGPT or asking anybody, consulting anybody. Their real knowledge has to be there. So once we start doing it, they will start reading more on what they are doing and then expressing very clearly to other people, mostly visitors and their co-workers. So it is becoming the generative AI is becoming a kind of menace in thoroughly reading and acquiring a lot of knowledge. But it is really from in-depth counseling that we can pull them out. And we have to tell them that you have to make a PPT. It is not like present a PPT, you have to make a PPT. So we are there, we are sitting, you please make a PPT in front of us. So that challenges at times should be given so that they will not be able to resort into internet to get any kind of information. What you know now, you please put it into the slide. So in our meetings, we say that you just talk for entire group for about 2 minutes, what work you have done in the last week and what work you're proposing next week. There is no assistance given by their guides or co-workers. So once you make them to talk extempore on what they're doing, slowly they will start using their brain rather than resorting the dependence on these AI-based tools actually.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have time for 4 quick questions. Kirtan, please ask a question.
It was a nice session, sir. It was pleasure to hear it. And my question is, how do you handle the challenges like funding constraints or limited access to resources, sir, during research?
This is one major problem for all the Indian universities. So large-scale funding, some of the government initiatives that are happening now, the biofoundries and biopharma and the BIRAC fundings and DST fundings, fortunately, the allocation is becoming much bigger. But another not so happy thing is most of these funding goes to the government institutions rather than private institutions. There has to be some share that is to be given to the private institutions also. But having said that, getting that initial funding is always a challenge. So the success rate of funding applications is in single digits in India now, except in some of the very premier institutions where they write 3 funding applications, invariably they will get 1 granted. But universities like ours, private university, when you write like 10 grant applications, you may get 1 that is being funded. So, but that should not deter. We have put a kind of matrix that it is not only how many funded projects you got in a year, it's also how many grant projects you have submitted. That also comes into your performance metrics. So one of our junior faculty, he has put the target that every other month he will submit 1 grant application to the funding agency. So this is a kind of constant thing. So every time he revises and sends it, there is some more preliminary data added to that. And with the comments from the reviewers, it will only get better. So some of them who didn't get in the very first year, now they have started getting the second year. So funding constraint will be there and majority of them will be turned down. But as and when we start improving the quality of the application, I think we will start getting the funding. Yes.
Dr. Vinit Meshram, please. Dr. Rajesh Kumar, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, Raviraja, sir, for a wonderful talk. My question is, you were a mycologist initially and currently into translational research. So based on your experience, which area in fungal research will be promising in Indian context for translational research?
Excellent question. If given a choice, I will not answer this question, but as it is posed to me, I'm bound to give some answer. So there is nothing like that. You have to choose a particular field in mycology. So again, if your focus is funding, attracting major funding, probably the translational research. The entire world is gearing up to major challenges in the biomedical applications, especially the medical applications. If you can develop something which is very good as a new, because there is a lot of antimicrobial resistance, which can have better application in that area, or if something that can really have some cure on, having very good the oncolytic activity, or something having very high commercial activity of commercial enzymes that can be used. Those are the areas where major money will flow in the coming areas, either pure commercial, the textiles, that this all those things, or biomedical, or into the pure play of developing new antibiotics and biotherapeutics. That is the area where the entire funding is going. Having said that, a lot of research is required in the pure ecological, the exploratory, and the basic research also. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
The last question from Soumya Shri, please.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Vinit Mishra, please.
Thank you, sir, for such a wonderful talk, and it's an honor to listen to you. I have two small questions. First question is, while choosing a research topic, what we have found, like I work in endophytes, and what I have found is that it's suppose somebody is working on a particular compound, and the other researcher will take other plant or other ecological area or geographical area from his place. So is it the right way of approaching a science or a research? And how do we go innovative? Like it's not innovation if you're just taking another plant or another bioactivity rather than finding something innovative. And my second question is, most of the funding that that is available there is given to the premier institutes that are in India, like IITs, IISERs, or like also MAHE. But what about second or third tier universities which doesn't have advanced facilities, and how we can get funding, at least some seed funding, so that we can start our research?
Yeah. I tried to address these two questions subtly in my talk already, but as you asked it again, let me just get into that a little more specifically. So for the second question, for example, not that MAHE is an exception, although MAHE is an institution of eminence, which is supposed to get a lot of government support. So it is not really, it's a struggle to get huge government funding. And MAHE is spending from its own pocket, from the student fee and all those things, what MAHE has, MAHE is getting as a profit. A lot of it is being spent into developing research, rather than the money that is coming from government, rather than the money that is being put by MAHE is much more. So struggle is there for MAHE. And now I have been hearing some shift. We had some government agency head visiting, and he told that now government is considering more and more money to the private institutions if the grants are meritorious. I think slowly the shift is going to happen. More money will start percolating into private institutions. For your first question, if somebody is choosing a particular plant and should we get into another plant and how it can be innovative, this is one of the major problems, because there are two questions here. One is whether you want to embark innovative research or the exploratory research. If you really want to lie in exploratory research, you can take another plant and you can isolate another endophyte and you can do some work, which is still going to be new, but it is not going to be innovative, in the sense it is not going to lead to any new product or any program unless you take it to the next step. If you only remain in the periphery of another plant, another endophyte, only take an extract and do a few tests, we are not going to further the horizon of this research. If there is a chance, you please take it forward. Isolate a few fungi from a few plants and then start doing more deeper work on them. We use various methods of extraction and get that particular fraction and see whether you can enrich that fraction, whether you can identify the gene and sequence them, and then take it into recombinant mode and produce more of it. That has to be the kind of innovative research. You cannot really stay there only. For that, there is enough options where you may not be an expert there, but you can definitely collaborate with other people who are good in those. It's a journey where different segments can be done by different people for the complete innovative product development. Yep.
I want to add one point here. Even this good, excellent researchers from the private, nascent or the small, private universities, they can actually come together. They collaborate with the members of CSR family.
Yeah.
we submit proposal to deep sea mission, we submit to other aroma missions and all other stuff. You need to find your partners and collaborate with them. I know it is not easy, and sure the struggle will continue to be eased out in the latest part of the journey, I believe. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot accommodate any more questions right now. I'm sorry. You can always go email Dr. Raviraja. He's a busy man. Hopefully, he'll reply to some of the interesting questions there. Dr. Raviraja, thank you. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving this forum to speak my heart. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we are very much privileged to listen to your vast experience of up to 3 decades now. I remember I joined MSc in 2000, almost 25 years you have spent in the field, actually, in the scientific research. There are many more questions in the chat box. There are many more people want to ask questions. I think it is not a bad idea to keep some questions unanswered for the future. With this, I let you go. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye.
Okay, we are sharing the feedback link. You can submit the feedback form in next 10 minutes. Thank you. Bye, sir. Take care.